The last skill we're going to examine is adaptability. It's been said that Charles Darwin suggested that life is about survival of the fittest. In fact, that's not true. What Darwin said was, it's not the strongest of the species that survives, not the most intelligent that survives. It's the one that's most adaptable to change. Adapting is more than just surviving or coping with change. It's about thriving. It's a complex skill that demands more than the ability to physically adapt to change. It also requires that we have the capacity to adjust mentally and emotionally to change. For example, to be able to adapt, we must have cognitive flexibility. That is, to be a critical thinker. We must also have emotional flexibility, or what some have called emotional intelligence. And there's also dispositional flexibility. A rigid mindset will ultimately kill us. Humans are herd animals. The notion of the lone wolf is a Hollywood myth. Our survival as a species has required us to band together and learn to live and to support each other. It means we have to be open to giving to and receiving from our family, our clan, our tribe, our social support system. Our mutual survival depends on it. Like the other skills, we're going to meet another member of the team and learn from their story of using the skill of adaptability.
Hi, I'm Maria. I'm a retired law enforcement officer. I was a deputy with a major sheriff's department in Tucson, Arizona. I am now a first responder liaison with Arizona Complete Health, and I'm also a national trainer in mental health first aid. So the skill of adaptability, a time in my life when I have had to use that pretty frequent, actually, as with many of the skills we're talking about today. For adaptability, I would have to think back to when I was going to retire from law enforcement and what was that going to look like for me and how was I going to be with that, and adapting from being an officer to being quote unquote a civilian and not having that authority or respect. So being able to adapt to that major change in my life and being okay with it. And it's a good thing.
Again, think about a time in your life where you have used the skill of adaptability. Recall in as much detail as you can about the event. Who was there, who was involved, what the situation was, all those kinds of things. Take about 5 minutes to write down the event and share it briefly with your partner or cohort. If you're doing this by yourself, think of someone you could call and share that story with. Great. Remember the white sheet of paper exercise we did way back at the beginning? This is where that associative learning comes into play, because we recognize that we've used the skill in the past. It'll give you a sense of trust in yourself because you know you've already used this skill. Now I'm going to ask you to think of a challenge in your life where the skill of adaptability could be helpful to you. Remember, you can use any of the other skills we've covered. Take about 5 minutes and write about your challenge, whether personal, professional, or both, and share that with your partner. Again, if you're doing this by yourself, think about someone you could call to share this assignment with. And if you're in a group, tape your challenge and your solution to the wall. Okay, so you've explored adaptability, you found you've used it in your life already, and you've examined a current challenge in your life where adaptability could be helpful to you. So let's hear some key words from our friend and see what words or phrases they recall about adaptability.
Some keywords I think of with adaptability would have to be flexible. Being flexible and adapting to that change. Being open, being willing to change and be flexible and be adaptable. I use the skill of adaptability every day, especially for being an officer. You have to think on your feet all the time. So you have to be able to adapt. You can't be rigid in your thought processes and in your actions. So this skill comes pretty naturally to me, and where somebody might think, okay, this is going to be a tough challenge for me today, I have to look at it as that, okay, let's do it.
Now I'd ask you to think of some key words or impressions that make the skill of adaptability memorable to you. Again, share them with your larger group. If possible, you can create a word cloud, or you can tape them to the wall.